I built a remote sales team of top closers who only get paid when I make money. No salaries, no guarantees, just straight up commission. In less than a year, we grew to over 100K a month in profit. And today I'm going to show you exactly how I find great people, keep them motivated, and build a team that actually gets results month after month. Alright, now that you can see my screen, I'm going to talk to you about why you need a sales team. You see, traditional sales teams are very slow and expensive. Hiring a team that actually gets paid on salaries, it's probably the worst idea you can do because it takes forever for them to start producing. If you're paying them a salary, they're never going to leave, because if they're not even performing, they're not going to leave. Whereas if they're commission only, if they stop making money or if they're not making enough money, they end up leaving anyway. And salary teams take months for them to show you results. So you want to make sure you have a structure in place that only rewards good behavior and only those people stick. And if they're not performing, they're going to be leaving. And if they perform, they're going to make top dollar. They're going to make 7 to 15 grand a month. I literally have 22-year-olds who are making like 8 to 9 grand a month, which is a lot of money for a 22-year-old. Some of them make more money than their parents. So the point is, they're self-motivated, they're going to work hard, and whether they're handling inbound or outbound leads. And to be successful, you want to have a good balance of inbound and outbound leads. You don't want to just do outbound forever, because at some point in time, you're going to dry that well. So you want to make sure you have inbound leads. So those are from your ads. So whether you do Facebook ads, whether you do YouTube ads, Instagram ads, if you have an email list, if you have organic traffic to the website, whatever the case may be. And you want to also do outbound. So you want to do LinkedIn DMs, you want to do cold calls, cold emails, anything that's basically you knocking on doors. Inbound is people coming to you. Outbound is when you're going out to them. And you want to have outbound training for new reps. New reps start with outbound prospecting, cold calling leads. This keeps your costs very low, because if you're not having to give them leads that are generated through ads, which costs a lot more money than outbound leads, then you can actually feel them out, see how they're doing, how motivated are they, and what kind of effort are they putting in. Because you don't want to just stop wasting your inbound leads, which are really good quality leads, to people who are just brand spanking new. So you want to start them off with outbound, and eventually you want to ramp them up into inbound leads as well. And the benefits of a remote commission only based sales team is that basically everything you can do in person can also be done remotely. And they can live anywhere. They can live in the city, they can live on a farm, they can live in a third world country, they can live in Thailand. It doesn't matter. Anywhere, as long as they have a good internet connection, they can work for you. And basically, we want to make sure that we're not wasting time with them, and that way we can actually scale without the financial risk. Because if you're not paying them a salary, you can bring on as many reps as possible. But that's not also a good idea, because then you end up having to train people all day, every day, for most of them to quit and none of them to stick around. So ideally, I find that in my agency, it's best to have 2 to 3 people who are absolute killers, as opposed to having 6 people who are barely doing anything. So having a remote commission only sales team can actually let you scale to the moon. Really, there's no cap to it. So here's the timeline from you having nobody to actually having a team. Typically takes about a week to get set up, 1 or 2 weeks to get some resumes through the door, and a week to have a couple interviews. You want to do follow-up interviews as well. You don't want to just hire people right on the spot. And you want to take a week or 2 to ramp them up. So it takes about a month for you to have nobody to the point where you have a team. Now, the most important thing, arguably, is having a good offer, because if you don't have a good offer, you're not going to make a lot of money with or without a team. So keep in mind, your offer is not your service or your guarantee. Rather, they're components of your offer, but basically your offer is the transformation that you can do for your clients. Now, within it, you want to have a good offer so that if they don't achieve their goal, maybe you can give them their money back, you can work for them for free, whatever the case may be, to have a good risk reversal. And you also want to have good case studies. You want to be able to confidently show to your clients that the people that work for you actually do get results. And more importantly, this is going to motivate your team so that they feel confident in selling to your clients. So within your business, you want to make sure you have at least 5 to 10 solid case studies. So these are video case studies of people. Perhaps it could be interviews, whatever it might be, but you want to make sure that this backs up the claim that you're making, okay? And you want to make sure that your case studies are legit, they're proper, and they're good quality, and they're recent. And as you scale, the more case studies you add, the easier it is for you to get on new clients. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you about is pricing. So before we actually had a remote sales team, we used to offer our services at $1,000 to $2,000 a month, and typically we did a 3-month long agreement. And most people stuck around for 3 or 4 months, and the profit on average for each client was anywhere between 2 to 3 grand, depending on how long they stayed. On average, it was about 3 months. And the problem with retainers is that if they're only getting paid for cash collected, it's going to take them a long time to get paid. So if we close a client for, say, $1,000 a month, and your rep's only getting 10% or 15%, let's say, they're getting paid $150 a month. They need to close way more for them to actually feel like they're getting paid. Even though, sure, they might get paid over the next 6 months, a lot of people need money today. So that's not the best way for me, in my opinion. So basically, the challenges with retainers is that it takes them a long time to get paid. So that's why we switched to paid in full pricing model. Basically, we charge all up front. So let's say we charge $1,500 a month. What we do is we times that by 12, which is about 18,000. And we say, hey, if you pay up front, it'll actually be 12,000 for the year. And that way we reduce churn down to 0, because nobody would be canceling, because it's more of an agreement that they have agreed for the full year. They get a discount. And more importantly, your reps can actually get paid up front. So if somebody decides to pay you, let's say, 10 grand, and your reps get 15%, your closer gets 15% commission, they're going to get paid $1,500 right away. So that's pretty awesome, right? So they get paid right away. And if they get, say, 4 of those a month, that's 6 grand right there. That's 1 a week. That's not that difficult. So that's why we found that this model is a lot better if you want to actually scale, because if you're only charging on retainer, it's going to take forever. Now for us, we do have some payment plans as well, where some clients pay over 3 consecutive months. So they pay $3,300 a month for 3 months or whatever. So the reps get paid 15% of $3,300 for 3 months, which ends up being the same thing. But if it was broken up into 6 months, it's just not a lot of money. They're not going to make a lot of money, and they're not going to be very motivated. So that's the point. You want to have something where it's high ticket, upfront, right away they get paid. At the worst case scenario, 2 or 3 installments over 2 or 3 months. So that's the idea there. Now, the most important thing is you don't want to create a remote sales team or a sales team or hire anyone unless you have a packed calendar. If you don't have a packed calendar, you have no business creating a sales team. So what you want to do, you want to make sure you're using every single prospecting channel to scale your team. So do cold email, do LinkedIn outreach, do LinkedIn organic, post content, cold call, have Facebook ads, have YouTube ads, have everything. You literally want to have a packed calendar. If you don't have a packed calendar, you can bring people on. They're not going to last because they're going to be like, hey, well, what the hell am I doing here? There's no appointment. So if you can't pack your calendar, they're not going to be able to pack theirs. So you want to be able to lead. You want to have exact processes in place where one person comes in, you show them exactly how they can generate appointments, and that way they know how to do so. You don't want to bring them in and let them figure it out because they don't care enough. If they're not making money right away, or if they feel like they're not going to make money anytime soon, they're out of the door. They're not going to stick around. And as you can see, this is our own calendar of only 3 people. The calendar's packed. There's literally not a spot at all available. This is the kind of calendar you want to have. You want to make sure that your calendar's full consistently. Okay? You don't want to have empty calendars. If you have empty calendars, do not start a sales team. The next thing you want to do, you want to make sure you have a sales script that is proven. Make sure you have a proven sales script that converts. Okay? You don't want to let your sales team figure out a script. You can ask them for feedback or what they feel like you could improve. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that this is your sales script and they're following it and it works. Okay? Make sure you've tested it. You've closed at least 30 people, 30 clients with that very script. Because if they come in and your script is not proven, they're not going to close. And whatever you close, let's say if you close 35% of the time, if you take 100 calls, you close 35 clients. Your team will never do better than you. It's almost impossible. Whatever you do, they're going to do less than you. So if you only close 15% of the time, they're going to close 5% of the time because they're learning from you. So unless you can close yourself, don't hire a sales team. Okay? You got to get good yourself. You got to be able to handle the objections yourself. Then you can look into hiring a sales team, because if you can't close, why should they be able to close? It's literally impossible. So you want to make sure that your reps are really familiar with your FAQs. There's a lot of objections that they're going to be getting. You want to make sure they have an objection sheet that if XYZ objection comes up, they can answer right away without a doubt. And you want to make sure that they're fully confident. You have to do lots and lots of role plays. And you want to make sure that they know exactly what it is you do, all the ins and outs, all the nuts and bolts, and all the objections. And you want to make sure that this is scalable and easy for anyone to use. Your script needs to be able to be replicated to everyone else. Now you can let your sales team adjust it slightly to a point. Maybe they can't, maybe they have trouble pronouncing some words. Some words are difficult for them to say. So you want to make it so that it sounds like them, but the structure shouldn't change. Okay? So the point is they can change a couple of words here and there, but the overall should be there. Should be your process. Okay? Keep in mind, having a good sales script basically means that you can close and it's going to help your team. So this is a must. Now you want to keep in mind that in order for you to be successful, you need to have recordings that your reps can actually listen to. So in my company, we basically have a lot of different sales recordings. As you can see, I literally have lots of different recordings here that any new rep that onboards, they're going to be listening to. They understand exactly what it is we do, and nothing works like these. Basically, successful closes. Now, what I found works even better is calls that went horribly wrong, because we can dissect them and show them the worst case scenarios. What happens? What happens if, the objections come about? How do we handle it? And they learn a lot more from those calls as what not to do as opposed to what to do. So you want to make sure you have calls that went really good and calls that went horribly wrong, because they're going to learn a lot more from these. And as soon as anybody comes on, they have to listen to these, watch them, and so on. Now, within your website, within your business, you want to make sure you have a good website and a good landing page. For your website, you can use anything. You can use Wix, Webflow. I use Webflow myself. Make a clean website. Don't cheap out. You can find someone on Fiverr, pay them a couple $100 to maybe $1,000. They'll build you a beautiful website. What I would recommend doing, find another business in a different industry that you like their website, and basically get someone to build it out for you, something similar, and adjust it to your niche and make it your own. But get some sort of inspiration from them. Now, when you are hiring, there's two types of people that you want to be hiring for. There's setters and then there's closers. So setters' main job is to book appointments. That's it. Whereas closers' main job is to close the lead. And your role is basically to handle all the marketing and sales. So you want to change your marketing based on feedback that you're receiving from your sales team, the data, and sales tracking sheets, and so on. And basically what you want to do is make sure your setters are booking appointments, your closers are closing, and you need to be managing those two groups. And basically what you want to do is you want to promote top performance. If they're doing well, promote them. And there's a few different layers to that, which I'm going to walk you through shortly here. And when it comes to the potential of how much money they can earn, a good setter should have the ability to earn anywhere between $3,000 to $8,000 a month based on your commission structure. A closer should be able to earn anywhere between $8,000 to $15,000 every single month if they're hitting their targets. Now, a closer brings in the money for your business, so don't worry about paying high commissions. My top closer gets paid about $9,000 a month, and he's been with us from almost the very beginning. Now, the commission structure is usually 15% for the closer and 5% for the appointment setter. Now, when it comes to your offer, maybe you have an offer that's between $4,000 to $12,000. If that's the case, you want to give your setters a small salary, maybe $1,000 to $1,500, just so they can help them with the commission. So that way, if they have any clawbacks, if there's any refunds or whatever, they can still manage. And if there's a high ticket price, what you want to do, again, 10 to 15% to the closer and 5% to the appointment setter. And since the price is higher, the salary isn't super necessary because one sale pays a lot of it off. And you want to calculate at the worst case scenarios in order for your closers to earn at least $6,000 to $8,000 a month. That way they're never going to leave. So just think about that when you're pricing your offers. And basically, you want to keep your cost of your sales team to no more than 15 to 20% of your revenue. So let's say if you make $100,000, you want to make sure that 15 to 20 grand maximum is the cost of the sales team. And it's not more than that, because you still have software costs, you still have taxes you got to pay for, you still have everything else, right? You have cost of ads if you're advertising. So Facebook ads, YouTube ads, these things are expensive. So you want to make sure you want to keep it around that 15 to 20% and use incentives as well, right? Give a bonus so that if someone hits 80 grand in new sales generated, for every 80,000 they generate, they get $750 in bonuses. And if they get paid in full deals, give them $200 for every deal that was generated and they paid in full. And give them a chance to win prizes. So give away PS5s, MacBooks, iPads. So we have a few different appointment setters in my business right now. And what we do is we have contests. So in October, whoever books the most appointments, and they have to be almost all qualified, wins a PS5 or wins a MacBook. And guess what? It costs $500, but they typically generate an extra 25% in appointments, which has a huge domino effect in our bottom line revenue. So it makes sense to do it. because it's going to keep people motivated. Sometimes we even give away trips or travel vouchers or buy them flights to whatever city they want to go to, within reason, obviously. But the point is, you want to give them a chance to compete. And what I found is that competing amongst themselves works way better than anything else, because people typically want to have, bragging rights as well as be able to win something. So when they're competing against each other, it works like a charm. And in order to hire, what you can do, there's a lot of things you can do. You can join Facebook, school groups, and on LinkedIn. So you want to join a lot of groups on Facebook. There's a lot of communities you can join. I can list a bunch of them in the description of this video below as well. There's school groups, school communities. A lot of times you can't actually go and prospect these groups. What you can do though is just reach out to people and say, hey, how's it going? What do you got going on? What is it that you're looking for? And just have a conversation. Don't try to pitch unless they say they're looking for a sales position. And the other thing you could do, you could use LinkedIn Sales Navigator to look for people who were in sales, who have specific backgrounds, maybe tech sales, whatever the case may be, and who are basically open to work. And what you want to do, you want to clean up your profile, make sure you have a good profile picture, looks professional, you're approachable and people actually want to talk to you, and share a few highlights of your business, what it is you do. That way it attracts top tier talent, and make yourself look good, right? Make sure you put in that effort so that people actually want to talk to you. And use your network, ask your clients. A lot of times existing clients become really good salespeople as well. I actually have one of my people who worked for us for a small period of time. They were really good. He was really good. And what you want to do, you want to post on social media as well. So if you have Instagram, on your stories, Facebook, LinkedIn, ask people, start conversations, and send messages to these people, have conversations, see if they're really good people and you do want to talk to them. And choose carefully. Don't just hire anybody. Just make sure you actually screen them. And if they're interesting, you want to talk to them, ask them to send you a Loom explaining to you what it is they do, their background, and so on. Get them to fill out a small questionnaire, answering a couple questions. But more importantly, you want to hear their voice, their tonality, their energy level. And that way you can get a better understanding of if this is someone you want to talk to or not. And this is going to help you save a lot of time. And as always, hire slow and fire fast. Literally take your time to hire. And if you feel like they're a bad fit, right away, fire them. And who I look for typically are people who have an athletic background, because it's going to show you that they're competitive and they can handle challenges. They're not going to crumble under pressure. And make sure they don't have any major commitments, so they don't have a lot of kids or too many hobbies or vacations or all this traveling, because that's going to get you people who don't really care about work, and you rarely see them work and they're not really motivated. So they want to make sure they're financially motivated, people who are driven by money or in a tough spot. And lower to middle class backgrounds often work a lot better. And the kind of people I wouldn't hire is existing business owners who have a business on the side, who have some little side hustle going on, because they're going to put 30% there, 20% with you, 40% somewhere else, and they're not going to make anything happen. They're just going to waste your leads and waste your time. And people that have a lot of options. You don't want to hire people that have a lot of options, because as soon as the next best thing comes up or they have a bad sales week, they're just going to quit. And people that have a lot of money, if they come from money, typically they're not going to put in effort, and as soon as things get hard, they're going to quit. Now, one thing you want to watch out for is you want to make sure that your reps have growth opportunities, because if they feel like they've capped this opportunity, they're going to feel unmotivated, stop doing it, and stop doing the job completely and go find something else. Just like a video game. If you're playing Grand Theft Auto, once you finish the whole game, you rarely ever go back and just play for fun, because you beat the game. There's nothing else to it. The point is, you want to make sure that there's always a next step. If they beat the game, there's nothing to it. So typically what I like doing, starting them off as appointment setters, then they become closers, then they become a team lead, then they become a sales manager. And as they grow, their earning potential grows as well. So at some point, if they become a sales manager, they can earn a commission or a percentage or a profit share of what the team generates, which it can actually be a lot of money. So the point is, you want to give them the idea that there is a next step, that this isn't just it. There's more to this than just you taking calls. And when it comes to onboarding these reps, you want to make sure that you set them up with the correct SOP. So you have all the processes in place. You have a sales script, you have your recordings and everything I just talked about. You have a CRM, you get them on Slack and Calendar right away. Get them everything set up within an hour, and get them started really quickly. Get them into the sales meetings right away so they can observe and so they can start actually learning. And simplify the process. If you have a VA or an assistant, get the VA or the assistant to onboard them and welcome them to the group and whatnot. And for communication, I recommend using Slack. You're going to have a lot of different channels and everything can be there. It's one place. I wouldn't recommend using WhatsApp, Telegram, or anything else. Slack is awesome. I'm on Slack all day, every day. You want to have a proper onboarding process. So as soon as they come in, they should book discovery calls for the first couple days and close their first couple deals within the first week or two, and let the training do the work. Use videos and Loom to train your reps. So basically have a really good training document. On top of that, create a Loom talking about every step. And you want to make sure you're systemizing everything. Everything is systems. They don't have to think. You better make sure that they have almost no thinking to do. And test your system. Literally do a lot of these things yourself to make sure it works. Okay? And test with more reps. Test your system all the time because things change and you want to see that if it works at scale. And be super detailed as well. Make your training as detailed as possible that literally a 7th grader could go through it and still understand what it is you're talking about. I want to now talk about something that's really important, which is meetings. So when it comes to having a remote team, having meetings consistently is so important because if you're not talking, everything goes out of whack. So what I recommend is having a team meeting every single day at 8 a.m. and get them motivated by 9 so that they start dialing, they start calling, talking to people. Make sure you're on time, make sure everybody else is on time, and post their stats in the group every single day and talk about wins and anything that comes to mind, any new books, whatever the case might be. Provide some recordings. If one of the reps had a really good win, download the recording, upload it to the Slack group, and let everyone else watch it. That way you're building a culture of people who are actually motivated and helping each other. And at the end of the day, you want to do the same thing. You want to have a quick huddle at 5:30 or 6 o'clock and just gauge how the team is doing, how the morale is, how their energy is, and so on. And have a positive mindset all the time, okay? All the time. And even if you feel like you're struggling, don't show that to them because negative energy is really viral and everyone else is going to feel it. And the next thing I want to talk to you about is EOD reports, so end of day reports. It's very important for your reps to create a report every single day telling you exactly what it is they did because it's going to keep them accountable because they literally have to type something up, send it to you. So a few things that I like to measure is the amount of calls they made, the amount of calls they booked, the amount of calls that showed up, the calls that no showed, how many deals they closed, if any, what kind of revenue was generated, how many follow-ups they did, what does the pipeline look like, and so on. So this is going to give you a really good understanding of what's going on within this specific rep and the entire business. So what I like doing is checking that out every single day at the end of the day, and we go over it on the next day, right? So in the meetings, we usually say, John, I noticed that you were only able to make these many calls. What's behind that? What's going on? That way we can address anything as soon as it comes out, not 2 weeks later when it's too late. And then the next thing I want to talk to you about is how do we actually get paid? How do we collect payments? So I recommend using Stripe. I think is the best tool out there for me. That's the only one I really used. I've never really had any problems with it. I know a lot of people that have. We have some people that use wire transfer as well, but it's not very common. Most people are fine with Stripe. So just basically create a few different links that your team can collect payments with. And what we use is Jawform integrated with Stripe. You can literally send a link and collect it over the phone. So you could either send a link to the prospect or just ask them for the numbers and process it on your side. And make sure that the reps are really comfortable asking for the payments, that they're not stuttering, they don't say ahs and ums, that they feel really confident. You know, this is just another day. I can't stress this enough. If they feel nervous, the prospect's going to feel that and they're going to just tense up and they're not going to want to buy. And then last but not least is the commission payouts. You want to make sure that your reps are getting paid twice a month. You can do once a month as well. I think twice a month is fine. We usually do it on the 1st, on the 14th of every month. We use a software called Pluto for processing these payments. And keep in mind, we take away the fee that we pay to Stripe. So let's say if they're getting paid $5,000, Stripe takes 2.9%. So typically the rep has to pay $145 of that, which ends up being 2.9%. And that hits their bank account pretty quickly. And that's exactly how I find top tier talent, retain them, and grew my team to over 100K a month using these systems. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and join my Skool community down below where we can actually network together and you can ask me any questions that you might have, and I'll see you in the next one.